Hello, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn. I'm Laura. I'll be your moderator for this presentation. We will be going over the Quick Start feature with our presenter, Bobby. Please send questions or add comments to YouTube to be entered into a raffle for a restaurant gift card. This will be recorded, but I'll turn it over to Bobby.
All right, thank you, Laura. So as Laura mentioned, we are going to be going over the Quick Start feature today. So a couple quick things. So the Quick Start feature is used to create a FileMaker solution from scratch. FileMaker, broadly speaking, has two different parts. The first part, of course, is a database. And in our past videos, we've kind of talked about the sophisticated relational database that FileMaker has. The other part of a FileMaker solution is its interface. When you need to create a FileMaker solution, when we talk about doing that, we are talking about creating both the database and the user interface. Before we get started though, it's always good to kind of plan what we're doing. So I drew up a very, very brief picture of what our database will look like. So that's what this is. So our goal is to create a Christmas list. Christmas is, of course, just around the corner. So we will be wanting to create a Christmas list to make sure I buy presents for all the people that I need to. Our database will have both a person and an item table. Tables are in FileMaker jargon and in most database jargon, tables are your silos of data. You have different little silos of data. Fields, of course, are the different actual pieces within the silos. If you think of like a table view of Excel, your fields would be your columns of data. Some other jargon that you want to acquaint yourself with in terms of FileMaker is a layout. So layouts are the actual graphical user interface pieces that we'll be building. Every layout has a table that's based off of within FileMaker. And the last little FileMaker term and database term we'll want to make sure we know is primary and foreign keys. So that's how we build relationships. A relationship is what you see right here on this line between our two tables. So again, we're going to create our database and a couple layouts. And we'll be doing that using the FileMaker Quick Start feature. All right, so I'm gonna make sure FileMaker selected. So to use the Quick Start feature, you're gonna wanna make sure you have a newer version of FileMaker, number one, because the Quick Start feature within FileMaker is a newer feature. And so one way you could tell if you have the newest version of FileMaker, FileMaker 19, which is the newest as of today, will have this icon, and that's the Claris icon. Older versions of FileMaker will have this little folder icon, and so if your version of FileMaker has this icon, you will not have the Quick Start feature because it is a newer feature again. So you'll want to make sure that you have FileMaker open. The other thing you'll want to do is make sure that you have the Use Advanced Tools checked off. So I guess not checked would be the simpler way of saying that. So, and that's the default behavior. So unless you have the Advanced Tools box checked and you've done that, by default it will be unchecked. So ours, of course, is unchecked. So to utilize the Quick Start feature, you'll just go to File, and you'll hit Create New. And there are multiple ways to create FileMaker solutions. We're not going to get into all those today. I think we do have a future Lunch and Learn coming up in January where we will go over the Convert option, where you can create or convert an Excel database directly into a FileMaker solution. And then there's also some pre-built starter solutions that are provided that you could utilize. But to use the Quick Start feature, I'm going to select blank. And then I will hit create. And it will take a second. Well, first it'll prompt me for a name. So I'm gonna hit Christmas list or type Christmas list because that's what we want to create. I'm gonna put it on my desktop just because it's easy enough to track it that way. And then I'm gonna hit save. And that will start the quick start process. If you're doing it for the first time, it will take a second. Right there, it was pretty quick though, because I've done it before on this machine. You'll get prompted with a nice welcome from the Claris FileMaker Pro. You'll just hit OK. And then we are greeted with our quick start interface, which is a little different than the traditional layout view in FileMaker, which is what you would normally use to edit a layout. And so I'm gonna go over some of the, just kind of what this is real quick. On the left-hand side here, we have our layout navigator and also our table navigator. So right here in bold where it says Christmas list, that's actually the table name. So by default, whatever name you make your file, the quick start interface will have a table with that same name and a layout. So this is our table, our database table Christmas list, and then this is our layout Christmas list. And as we build more tables and layouts, this will become more populated. And down here are our fields within that table. Okay, so table, layout, and our fields. You can close out that little side pane by clicking here and toggling it. This is our main layout that we're working on. By default, FileMaker will create just a default placeholder layout, and so that's what we're looking at right now. Again, we'll create more layouts as we go. Up here are some different options for things you could drag and drop onto that layout. So you can drag and drop text, graphics and logos. You could put spacers, drag spacers onto there to help space out different objects. You can select your view level. You can zoom in, zoom out, all that good stuff. And then here you can toggle back and forth between your formatting bar. So as we add more layouts or more objects on our layout, we'll be able to format them, and we'll have different options for every layout. So that's just kind of a very basic overview of what we're seeing right now. Once we're done, we can hit done, and then it will create what we want it to. So again, by default, we have our Christmas list, table, and layout. But if we look back to that screenshot I did, which I closed out of, so I'm not going to try reopening that. So again, we want to create a person table and item table. I'm going to start with the person table. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to rename that default Christmas list table to be named person, because again, we want to create a person table. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with that default layout. I'm just going to rename it to be person detail, just so that's more accurate and it reflects what's actually going to be on that layout. All right, so we have a table and a layout. I'm going to start on the database side, so I'm going to add fields to our person table. So I'm going to click this little plus button, and it'll bring up this field creation interface. FileMaker has, I believe, 6 different data types. We went over some of those in a previous Lunch and Learn. What you'll notice here is that there are more than 6 different options for your type. And FileMaker, to make it easier when creating, the whole point of this interface is to make it easy to create things. So it kind of combine different data types with different field control types. And so you'll see things like pop-up menu. That's not an actual data type. If you saw our previous Lunch and Learn, you'll know that pop-up menu is a layout control object. And so they've included both of those different subsets of things within this type, which is actually really nice, as we'll see later. But without digressing too much, I'm going to go ahead and type in first name, because every person table needs a first name field. Down here we have 2 options. We have an option for add new fields to layout, so that will add any field I create to this layout. And then we also have a checkbox if I want to create another field right after. So I can just keep going in line, keep creating fields. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create a first name field. I'm going to click create. And then we didn't see it placed on the field, but believe me, it's there. We will see that in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and create a last name field, because again, we want a first name and a last name. I'm gonna select a number type now, because now I want to create an age field to store the age of the people I'm buying things for, which is pretty relevant. You know, I need to know what age the person is that I'm buying things for. With numbers though, we see we get different options. So we could choose the select to show the thousand separator, you know, a little comma. Not relevant for age, hopefully, but we are gonna put that in. We're not gonna worry about negative numbers or any other formatting for an age field. I'm just gonna hit create. What other fields do I want? Let's see here. So we need a naughty and a nice field, so we can track if the person's been naughty or nice. But for that, I'm gonna choose a pop-up menu. Now, again, if you've seen our previous videos, you'll know that pop-up menus have a value list behind them that supply a list of values to pick from. So of course, if you were to choose a pop-up menu, here, it gives you an option down here to select what values you want in there. So for our naughty and nice value list, we are just going to put in naughty and nice, and also a non-applicable option. So we'll hit create. And I only have 2 more fields that I'm going to add into this table. So I want to be able to put a picture of my person that I'm buying for in my database. So I'm going to put a container field, because within FileMaker, container field data types are where you can store pictures interactively. So I'm going to hit create. And then one last field that I'm going to create is a full name field. Now, our full name is going to be a calculation, because we already have the first name and a last name field within our database, so we don't need anyone to retype those. So we're going to make a calculation, and again, without going into too much detail, because calculations are something we'll cover in the future. But the nifty thing about calculation is that you could use it to concatenate data that you already have in your database, among other things. There's quite a bit you can do. In our use case, it's just enough to know that you could take 2 different fields that you have in your database and merge them together. So I will have a full name calculated field. One important thing about calculations, just real quick, is that you cannot edit them like you would a normal field. Anyways, so I'm going to close out of this because I'm done with my field creation. And you can see here we have our sample layout that we are looking at, which is our person detail. I'm going to widen the screen a little bit here. There we go. And we have all the fields that we created. But I'm actually going to remove the full name one. We really don't need that here for now. I am going to drag and drop the photo up top, because a photo should be the first thing you see from a person, and I'm probably going to leave it at that in terms of editing this layout. But just to go over some things you could do if you wanted, let's say I wanted to change our font to Courier New. I could do that just by selecting the object, and over here in our style editor, for lack of a better term, we can do that. For the most part, most of the options here are the same options you get within layout mode in terms of the style of the field. I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to the default Helvetica. I think that's all we're going to do. I don't want to get too crazy and take up too much time, but there's really a lot of options, especially in terms of auto sizing, placeholder text, all that fun stuff. All that, though, is definitely going to be covered later in a future Lunch and Learn. Okay, so again, going back to our Christmas list, we have a person table, and we now have our person layout, our person detail layout. But we need an item table and an item layout now. So I'm going to create that. I'm going to hit New Layout. And within the new new layout picker creation window, I guess, you could select what table you want your new layout to be based off of. So we need to hit new table. We'll type in item, and that will create a new item table. And we are going to call our new layout item detail. The other option within the new layout window is you can choose what size you want your layout to be. So FileMaker works beautifully on iOS devices via FileMaker Go. So that's why you do have options for tablets and mobile, and you can also customize it. For the sake of this demonstration though, I'm just going to leave it at the desktop option and the default 1024 by 768. So I'm going to hit create, and now we have two tables, and each with their own layout. And similar to what we did with the person table, I'm going to add just a couple new fields. I'm going to run through this pretty quick though. I'm going to hit the add new fields to layout checkboxes and create another. So we definitely want a description for our item database. We need a cost, that is a number. Nifty feature with the number option is you could specify to have multiple decimal places show. So since our cost field will be a dollar value, we definitely want to have 2 decimal places showing. And we could also specify to have a dollar sign. So I'm going to create that. For my last field that I'm going to include, well actually I'm sorry, third to last, I'm getting ahead of myself. We do have a Boolean checkbox option, so I'm going to put in a purchase field, so that way I can check off whether or not I've purchased that item. Again, similar to the person table, we will want a photo of our item. And then since I'm going to be using this item in a relationship, I will need to add in a foreign key, which will be used in our relationship later. So I'm just going to put person foreign key. If I can spell foreign right, there we go. And I'm going to hit create. Perfect. And I'm not going to worry about editing this layout too much because we're not going to use it too much in our final solution. And I think that's about it. Again, we could do more formatting if we wanted to. We have all these options for padding, sizing. We could use we have things auto size differently and stretch and expand and all sorts of fun stuff. But I think for now I'm just going to hit done, and that will save the changes that I've done. So again, we are in the quick start interface. Once we are done and our solution is created, we cannot go back to the quick start interface. We can still edit our database. We still will have the ability to do everything we've done here. It will just be from FileMaker's default layout mode and inspector, which will cover how to utilize all those features in future Lunch and Learns. But I'm gonna hit continue. That will close out of the quick start interface, like I said. It will leave me with 2 layouts. If I go into manage database to check on my database schema, I can see that there are 2 tables in there, 2 table occurrences. And so to complete my solution, I do want to make a relationship between the person and the item tables. I'm going to do that just by selecting my foreign key here in item, dragging it over to the primary key in person. And for the sake of our solution, I'm going to go into the relationship and hit this checkbox, which will allow us to easily create items from the person table. And that's all I'm going to do right there. So again, that was just creating a relationship. We're definitely going to go into more detail on that, but I just want to get this solution completed and working. So I'm going to drag a portal real quick here to my items. And I'm in layout mode in FileMaker right now. I got there just by hitting edit layout here. So I did that, I was in layout mode, and I was able to edit my layout. And that's the normal way to edit layouts within FileMaker. So I added a portal to the item table from my current table of person, so that way I can see related data. I can see up here I have one record in my person detail page, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that out. Now that I have my layout set up like I want to, I'm just going to fill it out with some data. So I'm going to type in Lucy Ritz, who is our dog, and she has been very nice. She's 3 years old. I'm going to drag and drop a photo of her into here. And actually, let's make that a little bit bigger, huh? Everyone wants to see Lucy. All right, so there's Lucy. And since I set up a portal with related data to our item table, I'm going to type in dog bone. The cost, let's say, is $4.99. And there was a purchase field that I created. I'm just going to put 1 in there. And you might wonder why I put 1 into the purchase field. If we go over here to our item detail, we see now that that related dog bone record got created with a cost of $4.99, and the box is checked. And if you remember, we created a Boolean checkbox on the item detail layout. And so Boolean means either it's 1 or 0. And so if it's checked, it's a 1. If it's not checked, it's blank. And just for the sake of showing that you can have more than 1 record, I'm going to put in the name of our bird Chipper, who is 8 years old. And he is naughty. He's not nice to me. But we will go ahead and drag and drop a very nice picture of him in there. And we could just type in bird toy as an item for Chipper. They're a little more expensive. And we did not buy that, so I'm not going to put anything in the purchased field. One cool thing about having a fully relational database and having it set up like we can is that you could have multiple different, within a portal you could have 0 or many items, so we could keep going if we want. But for the sake of what we're doing, I think that's about it. So that's how you could very easily create a database solution within FileMaker using the Quick Start feature. I added in a couple steps just to make a more complete database, but you certainly don't need to. The Quick Start feature has everything you need to quickly create a solution. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Laura, and she might have some questions for us.
That's a very good overview of the Quick Start feature. We do have a couple questions here. The first one would be, for the Quick Start feature being newer, does that mean it's in FileMaker 19 and not like before that version?
Yes. So the Quick Start feature is something new to, or at least the Quick Start interface that we saw is something that is in FileMaker 19 and not in any previous versions.
Okay. Cool. Next question on here would be, what is the advantage of using the Quick Start feature in comparison of creating it into the advanced version of FileMaker?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The main advantage of using the Quick Start feature is that's more of a focused view, right? You might have noticed even when I was just editing the layout to add in that portal, there were a lot of different options. So if you're creating a layout the normal way, there's all these different options you could choose from, and especially if you're a beginner, that could get overwhelming. Heck, even as like long, long-term developer that there's so many features. Sometimes it's nice to have that very focused view of, okay, create my tables, my layouts, boom, and I'm good. It's definitely not the end-all be-all, but it's a very easy way to get started. So yeah, that's
Okay, cool. Okay, next question would be, we can see in the quick start feature when you resize things, it moved other things around. Is there that feature in the advanced version?
No, so that's something that is not currently built into the normal interface, into the normal layout mode of FileMaker. It won't automatically move objects if you add them onto a field. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I think it'd be really cool to have that in the future. And FileMaker definitely is getting very progressive with how they build their database tools. So that could be something we see. Who knows? But as of right now, no, you can't.
Yeah, hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
Cool. And then another question, last question I think we have time for. How many columns or sections can you have when using the quick start feature?
So I've actually not fully tested that, but I think you could have unlimited. I was just playing around with it earlier today, and I was able to just keep adding different columns. Technically, FileMaker considers them spacers and not columns, but same thing. It's just a terminology issue.
Okay. I think we do have time for one more question. Let's see. For a beginner, can you give some examples of how you might use this feature in your customer database?
So that's a tough question. I don't know if you have an existing database, this probably isn't the feature that we would use to edit it. Again, because you already have a database. Even if you had a new database that we were creating for you, I don't know if we would necessarily use this to create that database. One possible use that we would have is using it in person. So this is actually a good tool for us in person to kind of interactively create a database with our customers if we wanted to. A lot of what we do as developers and consultants is very interactive, and this does give us a very easy way to show what we're doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, great way to wet your feet.
exactly, yeah. And really it's meant for newer people or people who are in a rush and just want to create something, and that's what FileMaker is all about.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I think I'm going to wrap up here a little bit. Thank you again, Bobby, for presenting on the Quick Start feature. If you like this presentation, make sure to like our video with our thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe so that you can be alerted for the next Lunch and Learn, which there will be plenty more in the future, especially starting January. Also, in the description at the bottom, there's a survey, so please fill it out, and you can suggest topics, or if you need help with anything, you can also let us know in there. So thank you again for joining. We're glad to serve you a Lunch and Learn.